Rinse. All right, we're gonna break this down. I find it, you guys. We're gonna break this down. You're gonna kind of see what I did, why I did it, and you guys will have a little bit more understanding of all the little pieces that have to do with this particular build or what I'm reading. Because a lot of people. Okay, so sometimes I get this because a lot of people don't play StarCraft that much, but there's like a lot of Florencio files right now. There's like 72 right now or something. And there's a certain point where you're going to start seeing some resemblance of my meta. You're going to start saying, well, Florencio does the same stuff over and over again. He goes oracles and he doesn't go ground too often in the beginning. But that's because late game I go ground and in early game I go air. But they don't know that. They just know that they see oracles all the time. They're like, why do I see oracles again? When is he going to do other stuff? It's like, so I created a meta to deal with the meta. And the problem is that the meta keeps doing meta things. So my meta has to stay similar to what they're doing. It's only until I play someone crazy where you see these crazy games. And that's what I like to play, crazy games. But when you're facing the meta and you have your own meta build, you can't stride from it too far because they're still doing the same things that you're supposed to know what to do to counter it. You're not supposed to go too crazy because there's so many things you can't still do or else you get caught off in macro. And so it's kind of hard for each race. And in PVZ, it has its own special little things that you can't just do. You can't just, if I want to go ground, I'm just going to ground. It's not that easy. You have to deal with the meta. Sadly, and it's, but the good thing is always so many people play the meta that you start practicing the meta so easily because it's like everybody plays it. So here I send the probe route, right? It makes my pylon on the front. Now we all know it's better to block this off so that you can either do one or two things. When you wall this off and the overlord's over here or even sees a wall off, whenever you see a wall off, you think Nexus here. So based on what I see over there, I decide whether I want the Nexus here or not, right? But he doesn't know that. He just knows that, well, he's going to take it right there because that's the safest place. If this is the safest place for him to build it, and he hasn't built it yet, he's going to build it there because I can't get in there. Why would he be crazy enough to build it some weird spot when he has a really good defense to take that base? Right, and that's the confusing part for them. And because of that, sometimes they use that as a fake late expand, or sometimes they use it as a one base expand because they represent it. They look at it differently. Or I take it as expansion, macro expand by taking a hidden base while faking the expansion. Sometimes, if I'm greedy, if I'm the greedy one, I'll take a natural, right, and then I'll get this base really early just so that for them to think that I have a natural just barely. They don't know that I have 3 bases. They just know that this is kind of relatively made at the right time. And because I don't do meta builds, I have some income to be able to put into the Nexus at the hidden spot. And then I work through that. But that's when I go very greedy. I'm not a very greedy player. I'm more of an aggressive player. And then let's take it to the late game with aggression, right? I'm not an early game player. I win a lot of early games because they don't understand some of the different transitions, and so they end up leaving early. But if I could have it, I would love to play late games and have them have a really stretched out game where I can learn more. But when you play these styles, if they make the wrong choices, it's not like you can just go, okay, I'll just give you 10 more minutes to try to get an army or something, and I'll get an army. Because I don't want to play an unrealistic challenge. I want to play it where I'm like, relative to like whatever happens in a real game. I don't want to stretch it out too much. I'm only stretching out by going into a different branch, a branch I'm not too familiar with. So then I go to that one, but I don't draw the game on purpose just to draw it. I always try to find a way to like figure some other type of thing that I'm not too comfortable with. So it kind of balances the game back. So I'm not comfortable with this playstyle that I'm going into, so it should give him a chance to get back up from that, and then I'll be practicing that style a little bit better. is the way I kind of look at it. or a little piece of what I look at. So I come in here, right? The one thing about it is this probe, I keep the probe here. The reason why I keep the probe here is because I don't want the overlord to spot me, because normally the overlord comes over here, stays right here, looks for the cannon rush. But in this case, this probe actually got caught by this one. So next time I have to keep the probe on this side, and then that way this probe won't get caught. So right now he's like, Larvita is like, why is that probe right there? You know, suspect. He just saw it, right? Like, wait, is that a probe right there? Is he gonna make a pylon and make cannons and stuff? This is where he could. So he comes and checks, right? He's like, wait, does he have pylons and cannons here? He doesn't see anything, so he's kind of like confused. And so then, you know, he's gonna come and I'm like, oh, so when you do this, right? When you just move off, you kind of look, you don't look suspicious because you're not moving around. So then he comes over here and then you move your probe. It can do two things. It can make you look suspicious that you might have wanted to do something, or it just means that you kind of had it right here and you forgot about it and now you just realized and you gotta go scout, right? And so this is what I'm doing. And now I gotta go scout. But now I see that there's no hatchery. If there's no hatchery, I know it's a it's normally a pull first, or it should be a pull first, but he didn't get the pull first because he was wondering what I was doing down there before he made the hatchery. And that's what he was doing. Try to make the hatchery. He was going to make the hatchery, then the pool. Figured out something weird is coming. Used his drone to go scout, which delayed his hatchery. Now he had to make a later pool. And then I pylon block it because I know this is what he wants next. But I also know that by pylon blocking this, he's going to want this base. This space or this space. But the way that he was hugging the way he was hugging, look, pylon, the way he was directed, it's little things. You see this right here before I leave? That's, we could look at that. Put a little arrow, right? He was right here. He went this way, right? This is the area angle. That angle means he's going to the bottom right side of the hatch. If the drone was in position to that way, then that means he's going to take the base on the top left, right? So based on how this drone is angled, before I lose vision over it, tells me which area he's going for, which section, which allows me to set up this probe who's in either ready to go either direction, right? And then once I come over here, I make a right, and be like, oh, you hacker, he's hacking. How did he know there was a hatchery here? And then how did he know it was on the right side, not on the left side? Right? And then I just move it into this area because that's the area to kind of just spot it. You don't want to go too far in. If you go too close, you're going to see an overlord maybe, or this overlord might get a little nervous and kind of look around here, see if there's anything here. So that I try to put it as far as possible. I try to get it like kind of like at this bottom part, maybe here. It's not for sure, but it's one of those things where you're just in case. You know, there's different players. Some players get the overlord and start roaming around the new hatch just in case, since it's close by, but they won't be able to do it here. They won't be there in time, but there is a chance they will do it here, right? So I have to make a pylon. I'm still scouting, right? And the other thing, while that was going on, right, I make the pylon, I go up. The next thing I want to know once I do that is, where's the pylon? What's the gas? Is there 2 gases or 1 being used? And what's the count on the pool? Is it almost done, halfway done, 3/4, only a quarter? So right here, I'm like, oh, you got no gas, greedy punishment. And this map is really good because in regards to this situation, because they're close together. If you have one on opposite side, it actually affects the fact of getting the gas steals, because this one might get saved by the time that this drone goes, oh shit, he's gonna steal my gas, I'm gonna get it over here. So regarding this map, technically it's like, it really sucks for people that don't like gas steal plays, but they're really making it optimal. They're making it opportunistic to do a gas steal play versus a Zerg that gets greedy on this a Zerg that doesn't want to get the gas just right away and wants to go into like a heavy drone count and then go into like some early Ling player or something. So I quickly steal the gas. I know that the pool is going to take forever. Pylon's almost up. I cancel it. There's a reason why I cancel it. The reason why I cancel it is because I'm trying to act like I still don't know what's going on. I want to act like, oh, I stole your gas. I know what I'm doing. Now I'm going to go down here and I'm going to deny your base again. And I cancel my pylon so I don't waste it because I'm going to spend resources here. And I want the Overlord to go, oh, there's hope. There is hope to get this base. We just got to take that probe out. He doesn't want to spend money. He just wants to trash my delay. So he's probably going macro play because he's canceling the pylon and being conservative. He's not being too cheesy, or else he'd keep it up. So very confusing for the Zerg. He's like, okay, he's taking all this in. This is all, and he's trying to figure it out. He's like, oh, it's right there. And so here he goes, right? He's like, and then I go, no. Now I could go around and around and give him false hope for a little bit until my probe's almost dead, and then I can make the pylon then, but it just depends. I didn't really catch this because I was going over here, so when I heard a bite, I went, oh, let me just make a pylon right now. So I don't know if the Lings are coming soon, so I don't want to get in jeopardy of being able to not get the deny. So I come back in. I'm looking for the Lings is what I'm looking for. I'm looking to see where the Lings are coming in. And the other part is once you see the Lings, then you know that they're going to go here. So then you got to keep this one. This one's got to stay this time because they need to start attacking this so that they can, not have to worry about going down here. If there's no pylon here, there's a chance that the Lings are going to want to come down here just out of natural reasons. And then they're going to see some cannons and stuff. Which is why, in this case, I make a pylon here and I make one cannon a little far out. You'll see when I make a pylon. On the meantime, this probe right here is going to go all the way around here. And then he's going to do a patrol right here. I made too many patrols because of this creep spread. If I had more chance, I would be able to do more of a circle. But the reason why I'm doing this is because I'm staying away from the creep. And the Lings have to chase this probe a little bit. But because they're chasing them off creep, that means that this probe can stay alive a lot longer. And that can keep him busy if that's the case, right? So this Overlord is good for him. He's going, you know what? Let me check if there's some shenanigans. Let me see what's going on. This is just in case. So he sends the Overlord. Now the thing is, I make a pylon and I already made a cannon. Now this cannon right here is up early, but it's not going to attack the hatchery. This cannon is an emergency cannon. The reason why is because you want to make sure the cannon's up just in case these Lings start turning to this direction or the Overlord catches that I'm making cannons. Because technically I would start making cannons in a little bit, like in a couple seconds, instead of having this. And that would be devastating because if he knows that I'm barely making the cannons, these Lings can go down there and deny it. And then I'm spending too many cannons and too much resources trying to keep this going, where in his side he's still mining decently and not really taking much of a extra economy tank. So that's why I made the cannon here. It gives these guys chance to actually make the hatchery. He spots it, cancels, gives me time to cancel because I always make the two cannons while there's still 7 squares or less. If there's 7 squares or less, that's when I make the cannons. So right here is normally the optimal time to make the cannons. Right here. Right? So we made it before it, so that means we can cancel it if he cancels his hatchery and tries to be sneaky. What you don't want to do is make him at any time and try to be like, and make him before he makes the hatchery, and then he cancels it because you're shooting him. Or you make the cannons and he can still cancel the hatchery and enforces your economy to be spent here. And if you spend your cannons here, he has an opportunity to get a Nidus Worm, but in this case he doesn't because I stole this gas, which is why I'm already planning another thing. I'm already keeping his late game play in lockdown. I said, well, you can't do Speedlings, you can't do Bailing Bust on me, and you can't go Roach Rush Ravagers on me right now. Can't go too early Muta, And you're gonna have to go Hydra play if you do go gas, because your gas is too weak to try to go Muta play and actually get a nice strong comp with that. So he's got issues already that I set up way before this, and this is just a precursor of that delay. The other part is I delayed the hatchery. Now he canceled it. That's less larva, that's less queens, that's less drone mining time. He has to start all over. Now he has to get this pylon out, right? He still has to kill the gas so he can at least get one, but in this case he's going to want two to try to get back his balance of gas, because he's been out for a little bit. Take that, he's spending drone times, right, to kill it, but in this case it's okay because he's oversaturated here. So if he's oversaturated here, you can even send another 2 more drones to go take out this pylon. You're not losing any resources, but you could long distance mine. Well, it'll give you a little bit more, so those 2 drones should long distance mine or turn into structures if he wants, but it's kind of traumatized right now. So it makes a hatchery. I know he's gonna make this hatchery. So I come over and I go around, right? I go around to go, and he spots it, right? Hatchery's here. He sends all of them there, like specifically there. Maybe I was just a little bit late, and maybe he just came at the right time, because if I go up here he wouldn't have saw me with this, but maybe he would have scouted. So, but he was very cautious, which is really good for a Zerg player to kind of just make sure, check your third, check your surroundings. You may be getting cannon rush right there, or maybe you've seen the Florencio files, expected that there's going to be a third cannon rush at the third, but that's okay, because these are just opportunities. And then the more opportunities your playstyle has, or you find, the more you can kind of find other ways to get ahead. Now my other opportunity is this. I don't have to cannon rush this hatchery. That's just an option, because I can cannon rush them and delay my air, or I can get denied and then I can spend all my resources on air, you know, which makes it faster on air. So that's why I make a Stargate. I make the Stargate before the Nexus, because I want to make sure that he doesn't attack me in the front. And I make it on the high ground so I can block this off. If he's trying to attack the front, I can contain myself on the high ground, get the void raids, and then deny him and get a base again. So you have that. In this case, I'm checking this out. I'm like, okay, he's on 3 base because he doesn't take this one yet. And if he hasn't taken this, he's still on 3 base, which is still okay because he's on low drone count the way he started off. He can't do anything with these lings. And now he's just droning up, right? Now I made a mistake. I think I hit CC accidentally. I'm supposed to hit... Yeah, I think I hit CC accidentally because I made a Colossus. I'm supposed to make CX. I must have clicked C at the same time before X, but you make 2 void raids. The thing about this is... The cool thing about the timing is that when you make your gases, typically when you make your first void raid, you got a sentry, right? You make a sentry first, then you make your void raid, then you make another sentry, and then you make another void raid, and then you have yourselves 2 void raids and 2 sentries. The sentry is to do several things. The first thing is the sentry is designed to pylon block a bailing bust. In case he is doing a bailing bust, you can pylon block it. The sentry is also used as a phoenix later on to go scout to see if it's going to be a Hydra play or Muta play, or you know, if he's got extra bases or overlord locations, you can use that. Outside of that, my main mission right now is to get those. But notice how this sentry is out, that void raid is out, right? This one, right when it's out, the void raid, I can make another void raid right behind it, and I'm still getting, you know, the 2 sentries, which means that, and that's because I make these 2 gases right away. I make these 2 gases right away. I mine gas before minerals, and because I mine gas before minerals, I'm able to get 2 sentries and 2 void raids, and then start up this pylon to start up the 2 void raid, 2 Stargate follow up, which means 3 Stargate potential. So once this comes out, right, I'm supposed to make a void raid. It turned into a Colossus. So there goes the void raid. It's supposed to be 4 void raids. Now there's 2 ways of doing it depending on what's the situation. Now, but because he was on low situations from the start, I know that I can go in with like a bullied void raid, 3 void raid push, right? If he wasn't that damaged, and I know he should have more queens because he wasn't that delayed, I make 2 void raid hallucinations and I send it over to his base, and then I send my other 2 real void raids over to the third, and then he has to decide which ones he's gonna attack. And the first ones are gonna be the hallucinated ones, because the hallucinated ones are the first ones I'm gonna send out, right? And that way he can see those first and he can direct himself to that direction. And then these other 2 are gonna go over to the third, and his hatcheries, his queens are gonna be way off location. Not only that, he's still not sure what he should attack because he's got 2 void raids here and 2 void raids coming out of nowhere on the other side. But in this case, I made a Colossus. I screwed up, so I said, okay, well, I'll send the Colossus out on this area so that he can go over to the main base anyways. I said, fuck it, we'll just make it into a stray Colossus, right? Oh, what up? What up, Sneaks? Oh, shit. Sick. You're multiplying right now, Sneaks. Yeah, glad to see you streaming, man. That's awesome. Thanks for the support, of course. And welcome back. I'm just kind of explaining this build. So, right here I have 3 void raids. I normally have 4 or only 2 and 2 somewhere else. In this case, 3 void raids is more intimidating than two void raids for the queen, because right now you're dealing with sometimes a queen or sometimes the second queen here that goes over to this side. Now, how do you keep this queen from going over to this side and helping this queen? That's by intimidating the player by putting out too much DPS that he can't take care of, so he's not gonna. So the fact that I come in with 3 void raids, right? And I go in with the fake one first in case the queen starts attacking this one. These 2 will be non-touched, right? So there goes the DPS, right? DPS is being hit. The queens are attacking this hallucination, right? Now, I back up the hallucination like if you're microing, because that's what you do to make it look realistic. Because you don't, and then you kind of keep it away so it disappears outside the vision. This side right here, they always try to pull you into the spores, which is fine. The reason why it's okay in the beginning, because it's one queen to try to pull you with 2 voided, is they normally just take out the shield. We have regeneration on the shield, just a lot of people don't take advantage of those as much, but these are scenarios where you just go back. Okay, I'm out of range, I'll go back, heal up my shield, and I'm back to normal, right? Shield's just a little damage. That we'll get that back in a second. We'll take out this hatchery now. The reason why we're going to take out this hatchery is because he still thinks that there's a 3rd void raid out here, and that queen cannot take out 3 void raids. On the other side, we're going to see the Colossus get, I believe the Colossus had, I don't even think the Colossus, did the Colossus even make it? I don't know what happened with the Colossus. I sent it out. Come here, buddy. Where'd you go? Did you disappear before you even got there? Yeah, these things slowed his ass down so far. That was funny. Terrain, I tell you. Read. Okay, so right here, hatchery's down, right? So now he's on 2 base. During that time, you're making oracles, right? Here's the oracles. And you got your sentries still charging up. They got new energy coming up soon. You get your void rate, you get your gateways because you're gonna start blowing up an economy. I was supposed to do it within a little bit closer, but this is still a good time to just start saturating some gateways and pylons, because you're gonna start banking a lot of minerals, and all the gas is typically gonna be for the oracles. So once you keep the oracles constantly flowing on 3 stargates, you're still gonna have minerals, and so those minerals have to be utilized somehow. I can't exactly get an expansion real quick because they might try to deny it with lings, so you can't get the 3rd. So instead of getting the 3rd right away, I decide to just go for the extra, punishment for him, and then get a 3rd later once I do damage. But in this case, he's just trying to deny my third, so why even make the third and try to go through that struggle? Let him try to worry about stuff that's not going to exist in his world. And then we're going to be able to take advantage of that, because look at all these lings. These lings are set up to a meta, the standard meta. Standard meta is supposed to have some units. They should be moving out sometime. What's going on? I'm spending too much resources instead of drones here. He's killing my hatcheries. Is he going to go straight into immortal play right now? Is this going to be immortal switch? I don't know. The Zergs won't know. Okay, the Void Raids come over here to get a peek. Boom! They spot the Hydralisk Den. Now, the good thing about spotting the Hydralisk Den really early is that you can take it out and you can sometimes escape, but in this case, I'll lose my Void Raids. I'll take the trade. I'll lose my Void Raids for this den because the Void Raids already are done. You really don't need the Void Raids anymore, technically. They can actually sacrifice themselves in good standings by scouting for the Spire, because this is the time where you have to look for the Spire with the Void Raids, and the Spire sometimes takes a sacrificed Void Raid to go to the back and try to look for it. But because we spot the Hydralisk Den, now we definitely know what he wants. He wants Hydras. The Spire's not going to come up yet, and then once he loses the Hydras, he's only going to be able to produce what he can afford right now, which means that he is going to make another Hydralisk Den, and then there's going to be a little minute delay for him to make more Hydras, which is going to be the time that my oracles start punishing him. Right? You notice that I'm actually cross beaming, right? I was trying to kill it right away. I was trying to deny that hatch before my Void Rage site, so I was just kind of left clicking attack clicking. Recalling, being conservative. Now this Void Raids, if you do keep them alive at this point of the game, what the Void Raids are supposed to do at this point is pretty much patrol the outside areas for lings, for overlords, anything that's trying to scout that you're getting a third or not getting a third, because you want to make sure you're blinding them from them knowing what you're doing. So this is where if you do keep them alive and you know it was Hydras, you start wiping out the outside map. You don't care about all the other stuff, you're just clearing the map now. And so that's why I sent attack positions all over the map. You see this? See how I'm staying within the center of the map and not really too close to the actual base? It's because I don't want to lose them, but I'm just trying to make sure the positioning and everything are in good standings where he's not really having any kind of extra vision. And that's where the oracles kick in, right? I come in. Now the Phoenix is the other part, right? The first part was the Void Raids, right? You get 2 Void Raids with 2 hallucinated Void Raids. Now I have 2 energies for Phoenix, and you're gonna see me make Phoenixes. Right, here I go. Here's 1, here's 2. Now the reason why I make Phoenixes is because he's at the position where he might go mutas. I'm not sure, but he might go mutas. He's thinking, should I keep going Hydras or should I go mutas on him? So the reason why I hallucinate 2 Phoenixes, sometimes 4, depending on how much energy I actually store when I do this. This is where I'm trying to let him see me. So I'm trying to find any units right now that he can see me, where I can hover over so he can go, oh shit, he's got Phoenixes now. So it's like, okay, and I don't want to get too close because obviously here I was afraid that there was a spore, so I didn't want to get too close. I was like, okay, I was like, okay, well, you can't see me here. I was like, oh, I don't want to go over here because that's a spore. Oh, here goes. I'll have him under here. So I'm like, hey, you'll see me kind of just go in there and just be like, I'm dancing around. You know, that's pretty much right here. Let me slow it down a little bit.
Mineral field depleted.
Let me go for the hat. Okay. See how he's like, I'm right here. He sees it. Like his vision sees it. He's like, oh, he's got a Phoenix, you know. And so in this case, it's like, Okay, so he's got Phoenix. I can't go Muta. I gotta stay with Hydras because this guy's gonna start going Phoenix again, and I can't go Phoenix. I can't go Mutas if he's going Phoenix, or else I'll go Corruptors. If I go Corruptors, then it's gonna hurt me because I can't hit ground. I could piss on things, but then I am gonna be vulnerable into a Corruptor Muta play. You know, because he's I'm pushing him into a Corruptor Muta if he does go Corruptor first. Yep. Hallucination, they're done, right? Now comes my oracles. Once all that's done, the oracles come and do damage. I'm not worried about mutas. I'm not worried. I'm just worried about potential hydras that are going to come back because he's going to make the hatchery again. He's going to make the den again. So now I'm like, okay. So I'm going to go attack him right now. And right here, I don't know if the hatchery is up, barely up, but I know it's close to being up, and I was going to snipe it. But one thing to do is, if you heard that, the first thing I did is I go, well, I am ahead right now. I'm very ahead economically, technically, because of all the harass. He's barely getting that third base. So technically, if I take out that third base, I'm going to lose a lot of my energy. I don't know how many hydras are going to come out of that and how many queens. So I have to make sure that I get to conserve this. So I'm playing a smart play going, you know what? I'll give him the hatchery. I'll kill it later. Let me just make sure if that is an expansion location or if that's going to be a nidus, because it's not in my base. So I'm kind of like staying right here, right? I'm like, where is it? Where is it? And I'm looking at my mini-map to see if I can spot it. And I'm like, just like, okay, where is it? And then I go, okay, I spotted it. It's in the bottom right. So then I recall, of course, my my oracles over to this side. And then, of course, guess what? When they hit me with the hydras and lings, again, these sentries, they're going to have energy. And so this is where you make colossus. So you make void raid, hallucinated void raid, then you make hallucinated phoenixes, then you make at the end fake hallucinated colossus, because the colossus is going to be intimidating the hydralisk and the lings. So that's going to be intimidated, and then whenever they see zealots, oracles, and colossus, they're like, oh shit, I gotta get out of here. The splash is gonna kill me, so I gotta get out. But the oracles are gonna chase out the hydra. So then, and he's like, holy shit, what a clown. Because he was not expecting such a weird game.